and talking about redesigning my personal brand. That's gonna be an interesting challenge. So let's check that out, how that goes. So waiting for folks to join in, just gonna quickly check how many of you are actually here. 8 of you. Nice. So I have rough idea of what we're gonna do. In this video, we're gonna talk about the challenges, what the goal of my personal brand has been throughout. But for a quick check before we get there, let me know if the audio is audible, if you can hear me clearly in the chat, and let me know if everything is working out. And let's see your chat replies right here. So what are the goals of my personal brand and what is the overall vision, right? And vision is something that is you're not going to achieve in one go, on one iteration, but it guides you sort of in a long-term way. And then what are the goals that you can derive from them that are measurable and achievable? And that can help. But to start there, as a designer, I'm going to start most likely with my audience and who are the audience that are, looking for this content. So Nikhil Sajjan says clean and crisp. All right, looks good. Kunal and Kunal Kumar is here. Spidey is here. Hey Spidey, what's up? I noticed your recent comment on the typography video. Completely agree, and I'm glad you found that video useful. So coming to the personal brand, right? We're going to talk about what users I'm going to target, what they are coming to looking for on my personal brand, or what value they are looking for in all of this. And another thing we're going to look at is how can I map my social media strategy along with that, because personal brand is not about just personal website anymore, right? Far more traffic and footfall, or people know me by my social media presence, and very few of them finally funnel down to the website or something. So it's about the overall online presence and not just about the website. But the website is going to help us focus the brand, and will be the sort of single spot to send different people into different directions, as you will see when we progress. And that's going to be our main I think the overall coverage. And I think we're going to look at some data as well, because past, I think from 6-8 months, I got some screenshots from Google Analytics to look at very basic data to understand where people are coming from and where people are going and what they're doing on these websites, to make an understanding of what is happening and what kind of audience may be coming in. So now, coming from that angle, that is what we're going to cover in this entire session. And let's get started. So first, I'm going to just be using my iPad. I'm going to draw out just ideas. So this one is personal brand, right? Now, I want to know from you folks, you know me, right? You're watching this live stream, so you know me for sure from some social media or somewhere already. So if I was to ask you 3 keywords of what you know me for personally, right? What you come for, what would those 3 keywords be? Let's check out if where I feel, what I'm planning and how I'm thinking about my brand, and how you folks think about my brand, how similar is that? That will also help me figure out if, any of this is work, like how well did I get the data, right? So, and this, what you can see on the screen is from my iPad, and I'm just writing it out here. I just find this much easier to do than setting up a camera and actual live notes and then fluttering around pages. So hope this continues to work out. So let's figure out, who do you think my target audience is, and who do you think, what do you think they are looking for? 3 keywords. Meanwhile, check out this thing, 10K designers t-shirt. Abhinav sent this over, and awesome t-shirt, looks amazing in this color. So he just sent this over. This is 10K designers is this project where he's running a designer masterclass, and there's a bunch of other projects he runs, including Whiteboard FM, this podcast with Mayank. So if you haven't checked that out, you should go check it out. So I guess we, do I not have replies, or like, no guesses so far, folks? Any guesses? All right. So one of the first people that obviously come, that are looking for biggest, I think the footfall happens in guidance for designers. Okay, Tamanna says guidance for designers for sure. So I'm going to write designers here somewhere. Actually, what I'm going to do is write designers right here, because that's the next thing I'm coming for. Designers. And who else? Any guesses? designers is for sure, and then there are some PMs, and I'm going to club them together and call them product folks, right? Because there are a bunch of folks that come under designers as well. There are product managers, there are marketers that follow me. So there are a bunch of professionals, right? Overall, product folks or pros, you can call them. They are the second biggest group, right? And if you see some of these students, right, they will become, they will enter the startup world, and they will become some of these designers in the future. So, like many of you are, Shreya Shekhar says founders. Kushal Yadav says startup, SaaS product, psychology. Ritesh Patel says informative live stream. Thank you so much, Ritesh. So I completely agree with Shreya. Founders, right? Future founders or today's founders, or what we call CXOs. All these positions like CEO, CFO, COO, right? These are all CXO positions, Chief Something Officers. So yes, college students and product professionals. Arpita got it very right. So these are three main group of people, the kind of people that I target, right? Like, but and you can see like some product folks will, either students will directly go on to become founders, or some of them will go here. Some founders go back to become designers and PMs in the industry, but that's like, those are, you know, looping funnels which keep on reducing. There are some more suggestions. Nikhil Sajjan says people who want to shift from development to design also. Yes, so there are people from non-product, let's say non-design and PM fields, right, also shifting, but they are also grouped in together as product folks, right? That's why I'm using this sort of vocabulary to identify with them. Kunal Kumar says, aspiring UI UX designers, definitely we are looking for with something where we can get assignments and evaluations so that we can make our portfolio. That's a brilliant way to put at it, actually. Kunal, beautiful thing that you brought up. You will see how that particular idea, how we map, you know, from all the way from students, and this transition that I'm talking about, right? This right here, this big arrow right here of students becoming some of these pros, right? That transition, how those particular kind of content where you can, where I do design reviews, in future I'm going to do mock interviews, etc., how that helps in all of that, right? We're going to come right to that. So let's roughly map out what these folks are actually looking for when they come onto my website, right? The biggest things, if you look at my college talks, majority of them are around entrepreneurship, around self-improvement, right? Where I talk about thinking like an entrepreneur for self-improvement. Why not, right? So self-improvement is the biggest, I think the most generic content I make. It comes in many forms, like from my IG lives. I have not done much of it on YouTube yet, but on IG I do quite a bit of that. And if you look at my talks on TEDx, etc. as well, they are not about design or product at all. So from self-improvement, the biggest thing that happens is that is the biggest majority of people, but some of the folks also get interested in entrepreneurship, right? And they also get interested in startups in general. So I'm going to actually rewrite that here, just cleaning that up. So some of them get interested into startups, right? And they will go on to become, again, designers, engineers, or PMs, or founders and CXOs later on, right? So this is another bit of content where I talk about startups specifically and how they work, right? I don't know if you have seen one YouTube live on my live on my YouTube already, where I talk about the entire product building process, right? So that is part of capturing the interest of folks who want to transition into that sort of role. So this, when it comes to PMs and founders and all these product folk, what do they have to gain from what I'm talking about? So biggest thing is shared learning, right? They want to, let's say, people who are already working as designer, I want to share what I have learned. There are some new the frameworks and ideas I want to share, right? They can be looking for that sort of thing, and they can be also looking for community. I'm looking for community building thing. Community, for example, the design roundtable or industry roundtable you see is completely revolves around community, right? So that is the biggest thing I want to do, because the kind of content you produce for community should be around the kind of things you want to see more of. The reason for me doing that women only panel was because I want to see more women and more minority folks, like underrepresented folks, be represented more, right? So I want to continue to do that sort of thing. With founders and CXOs, again, this comes around insights, how to use design and product, how to use UX and design and product management, right? for business, right? How to map this. This is what they are looking for, and or often they are looking for hiring, right? Hiring either using my network to hire folks from my network. They often reach out, like new founders often reach out to me, hey, can you recommend somebody who can, become the first designer and kickstart the entire process. Often there are PMs looking for designers, so they also reach out. There are some comments I'm going to take on. Kunal says, we are willing to pay right now for such classes and subscription. I'm sure it will help you make personal brand. Kunal, gonna come to that eventually in some form of subscription, this thing, but right now I'm gonna try to make it as accessible as possible, because I'm not interested in charging as much in money right now, to be very honest. My financial motivation out of this is not that high. I mean, I'm going to monetize YouTube later on, etc., to keep some sort of income coming in, and very basic things come. Like I don't think I'm going to make more than like $500 a month on YouTube for the longest time. But I don't think financial motivation motivates me. But people being touched, I was talking to Madhuri about this. Madhuri runs a Hire Worthy podcast, and we were just discussing this yesterday, that when I feel that somebody's perspective changed, right, they were able to unlock some part of themselves, see themselves in better light, or moved in some way emotionally, I think that to me matters more. I seriously, like, that drives me way more to do content than money at this point. So any ideas that help you folks, I'm ready to experiment there and try to do more of that as and when my time allows. Pawan Shah says, hi sir, I'm learning UX design from another sites. I'm very much interested in designing. Guide me, sir. I don't know where I should learn and develop my skills brighter. Pawan, I've covered that multiple times on my channel, but I'm going to cover it quickly again. You want to start learning with a tool, which I'm guessing you already started learning. And then you want to quickly go on to, we're going to switch folks. So because since we are taking chat, so let's switch to this view. Not used to streaming professionally very professionally yet. So Pawan Shah here is asking right here, I can't move my finger over it, but he's asking about, like, how to get started on UI design. First, learn the tool. Second, start to replicate some of the existing apps and some designs you admire, so you know whatever you can imagine, you can replicate. It also trains your brain on certain patterns of how UI design is done. Then you want to start to continue to study basics of UX. You can pick up books like Don't Make Me Think and continue to develop your UX understanding and your design vocabulary. And that will finally you want to pick up a problem statement that you can call up 10 friends about and do user research. And then you want to finally take that problem statement and make iteration to solve that, then test out prototypes with those 10 users again, or different set of 10 users. So that's in very brief, how you can get started. If you are interested, you can check out the entire playlist I have on getting started with design. So let's get back to this entire mapping, right? Coming back to this mapping, so we have an idea of, like, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to remove some of these arrows, which I drew just to explain you folks of what I was thinking about. So you already know the connection between the two, and this is the simple lanes of what we're looking at, right? And as you can see, when you finally see people doing those pretty notes, the first version looks like this, right? And then you work on it to improve it further. So we have an idea of what they're looking for, and you can now, let's quickly talk about, like, how I'm going to map. So I'm going to take all these items and rewrite them here. So we have clear idea about self-improvement, and then there is something about, let's say, personal startups, right? That also talks about personal finance. I have some videos on personal finance if you have not checked them out. And then I also have some on psychology coming on. So those are one category of things. And then strictly around product, and product includes like design. So actually I want to say career, right? Because I'm talking about career in product. So it will be a career in product. What I mean by product is product companies, right? Though I have run multiple services companies and been consultant for the longest time myself, I don't find much growth in that sort of thing. So for some people it works great, right? So if it works great for you, go ahead. I'm just more of a product person. So that includes designers, of course, right? How do you start as a designer? Then it also includes PMs, right? It also includes transitions, right? Like someone spoke about. So the second thing, as you can see, I'm reiterating my own thoughts, right? This is about taking notes and rewriting it. Writing is like editing your mind, right? So I am trying to figure out, how this is going to map out. So we have product companies, and then we have, I'm going to write just community, where I'm talking about my peers or people just little junior or senior to me, where I'm sharing ideas or giving them sharing frameworks, discussing. A lot of that happens on Twitter, by the way, right? So community, we can talk about ideas, case studies, right? And let's talk about like community videos, right? So community meta discussions. Meta is like about itself, so about the community. Like for example, this last round table on leadership was about leadership from within the community, right? So that's one. And then we have business impact with design, right? This is an entire category of things that happen that I want to talk about. I keep continue to push about. So now we have a little refined version. Now, interesting thing is what I'm going to do is name like give them these markers. So we have more space. So I have A, B, C, D, E, and roughly what I'm gonna do is, like, if we create a mind map from here, right? There's video content. Let's talk about formats now. There's video. There's written, right? There's audio. There's just static images, post, right? I'm gonna move that closer to video here, because then it gives us all of these combined, right? Sort of give us what we call mixed media. Mixed media is something like I have a post about it as well on 2020 design industry trends on medium.com. But mixed media is like when you have audio, video, text, everything together, like Instagram stories or TikTok, right? So there's mixed media. And as you can already see, you can map on the side these social networks, right? Where these people are. What I'm talking about is these are the format that I have, right? In terms of content, these are the formats. And social networks, what I'm talking about is where these folks are. These people that we spoke about, that actually we spoke about them way over here. These people that we spoke about, these people, let me change color a little bit. Not that this is, so these are people, these are the value they're looking for, and we remapped sort of value here, which can become sort of a content map. If you can imagine, these are all my categories, right? These all you can imagine as simply the first version of all the categories I will have on my YouTube, on my blog, on my podcast. These are the categories that will exist. And if you go on YouTube, you can see these categories already emerge, right? And these are the people, and people I can find, they are hanging out somewhere. There's a party. Why should I, like, before you can create a party, you got to hang out where the party is happening. That happens on social networks. So what kind of social networks are we talking about, right? The first kind of social network, let's say my favorite one, oh God, I didn't change the color. All right. So first one, my favorite is Twitter. My second, then there is obviously LinkedIn. In no particular order, right? What I'm trying to say is this is written, there's mixed media. So mixed media is going to be almost everywhere, so we're not going to map that anywhere. We are just mapping the dominant kind of posts that go here, right? Then we have podcast, right? Then there is Instagram, that includes IGTV, right? And that it can include like Dribble and other kind of stuff. TikTok, and then finally YouTube, right? And as you can see, this maps right here, these map right here, Instagram, and audio maps to podcast. So this is where they're hanging out, and I can continue to produce all of this type of categories of content in various formats, right? And to provide value to these people, right? And that is the entire map of the personal brand. So people, these kind of people, right, different kind of people that we spoke about, will hang out on some networks, right, where I push my content, right, push content here, then they get some value, and then they come to more networks, right? Actually, I'm going to draw that back again, that because the networks we already drew here. So networks, what happens is people start hopping on these networks, right? from one to the other. So engagement, cross engagement increases. And then finally, I'm able to lead them to my website and hopefully to my blog or my newsletter, right? Or get you to follow on any of these networks. The newsletter is an interesting bit. I started a newsletter long back, but I've restarted it again, and go check it out, because newsletter is one of the things that survive test of time. Your YouTube can die, maybe you get disinterested in YouTube or something else happens with your brand, but newsletters audience is something which is your audience. No one can take that away. Like on Instagram, your engagement can drop. But on newsletter, if you continue to provide value, this thing will stay. Let's take some questions from the chat, right? So Arpita says, question, is it possible to figure out what you want to share over time, like as a beginner? For sure. Like the kind of clarity that you're looking at my notes right now, I did not have that for the longest time. Like in only last couple of years when I started doing more, did I get that clarity. And you will see how this maps back to, what audience has told me what works, what they want or not, right? For example, in this chat, I realized that you folks like getting feedback, like practical feedback, so you can improve the quality of your work. So that gives me another idea of like how to refine this content categories more. So I want to, like, within that category, I want to do this kind of stuff because my audience is appreciating this kind of, work from me. So the more you do, the more you learn. Initially, you want to keep it very simple. You really want to focus on one kind of audience. I have developed this over past 15 years. I've been doing this, like my domain is at least 15 years old, my personal website domain, right? So it will evolve over time for sure, Arpita. Like that makes complete sense. You won't have all the clarity in one go. So so we have blog, newsletter, and we got, if we were to summarize, we got self-improvement as one category, right? And we got product as another category, and we got business as another category. We have really simplified the entire brand, that this is the value that, my handwriting sucks today, I don't know why. This is the value that I create content on, right? And I push to these networks. So that leads to more people coming here, and then I push content here as well, and this loop continues, right? The biggest thing that happens is what I'm looking for, to be honest, from all of this, the biggest funnel lead for me is real life interactions, right? You won't believe the kind of amazing folks I have met from Twitter after lives and after a lot of these. So these real life interactions, right, these connections, or let's call it network, right? This is my main goal for my brand. This is the main vision. That the idea is that over time, this entire set of people we were talking about, right? I have a huge network of people that I know among students who are going to become in the future designers or product managers or engineers or different kind of folks, or are going to start their startups of their own. And why focus on network? Because in my understanding, like I was talking about money earlier, right? In my understanding, network is a better mapping for, what do you call is net worth, right? This I've experienced, because what happens is the kind of people you know, that's the kind, then they know about the kind of work you do. Then the kind of opportunity, the more people know what kind of work you do, the more opportunities come your way, right? So that becomes very, very important to understand. That imagine I started doing all of these design portfolio reviews as paid. How much I'm gonna charge? Like maybe I'll charge 500 a review, maybe 250 review, or maybe 999 for premium reviews that take really long time for like YouTube videos. But like, what about that? Like then I maybe can't put the content out there, then other folks can't learn from it. And then I'm really, in my opinion, when I could have used that to build network, right, of more students learning from this, more students knowing about me, more of them turning to designers in the industry. I think that's far more valuable in terms of network and influence you have over the community than versus the short-term money that I can make. But you can completely replace network as your goal from as if you're a freelancer, getting clients could be a goal here, right? So for me, that's not the case. But if for you it is, then very similar model could work. But then the kind of subcategories you define here, right? We were talking about these values, right? These categories and values. You will have to redefine what you do here. For example, in your case, it may be more case studies, it may be more business impact, right? And more community-driven ideas to build authority, right? So that is my, if you look at the entire personal brand, and if you're ever confused why I do all of this, this is simply it, right? I'm interested in knowing interesting people and having them in my network. So I am exposed to new ideas and new opportunities, and that's how it comes. The moment I started talking about podcasts, I got invites to be on podcast, and the more I publish my podcast, the more, like, if you want to get featured on podcasts, or you want your case study to get featured, or you've been working on design, and you want to start a blog, the easiest way is to write a blog about the blogs you read, or start a channel. The first video on your YouTube channel could be 10 YouTube channel of designers that I follow, right? So it's really like, before I lose the track, we're gonna come back again to now talking about what defines these personal brand, and how do they find these things. Let's look at that, right? And the top asked questions I also want to talk about in these networks, right? I get a lot of questions which tells me where I'm missing. One of the questions I still get is, what do you do? I still get that on Instagram a lot. Second question I get a lot is that, what can I expect from your content about? And almost equally, what is your content about? And the third question, these two I get almost equally. This is the biggest one I get, right? The third question I equally get is, how do I participate? What do I mean by that? So if you know, I have portfolio reviews online, after which I'm going to do mock interviews, and after which I'm planning CV reviews of product managers, etc. Profile reviews, LinkedIn reviews, where we can look at, maybe we can start personal brand reviews, right? Tomorrow. But how do you participate in all these community interactions that I do, right? Let's say next time I'm putting, I also want to start audience questions, video questions, and audience video comments, reactions to videos, including in my videos, right? So how do I go about that? So that is what I mean by participation, right? So I hope that helps in terms of, these are the biggest question I get, so I know these are pain points already. In my existing brand, I have figured out much of this, how to communicate this, and data will show us that. But I know from my, I went through my Instagram chat a bunch of this, and I've been noting down these points as well, because I made standard answers for these, and that's when I realized my website doesn't do good enough job of it. So let's look at that, right? Like, what does that website look like? So this is my personal website right now, as it says, Designers Builder Public Speaker. I'm not very confident about that title, but for me, I hope these highlights do the job. That the biggest thing is design, UX, and product. Currently at Headout, I've been working at startup 10 years, blah blah, and then there's some social proof. Social proof, if you do not understand, is when you use other folks who are have authority in the field, and they have talked about your featured you, then you can mention them, which builds social proof. Then this quickly talks about my work, but this is so boring. Like, when I look at it, like, it is just so plain boring. Like, I would probably like go right past it, and my eyes will hang on right here. And the moment, this one is about speaking, so I'm guessing from here the biggest traffic will be on my work. Here as well, if you see homework, speaking, the same logic follows here. So since this is the sequence of the page and the navigation, I won't be surprised if those have the heaviest traffic, and they do. So then there's a longer page, and I talk about my YouTube channel, interviews, then there's a small note. Overall, the website is just very text heavy. Like, I don't know what you folks think. Like, I want to know, just critique the website, like, be harsh today. And like, my critique is like, it's just too text heavy. It's nice that it's, I like the fact that it's plain aesthetic, because trust me, like, adding more colors in this or making it more nicer, I'm just gonna be so conflicted. And you folks, like designers, will understand. No, like, designing your own portfolio is the hardest, because I can't pick one color. This color has worked for me for the longest time on my blog, so I stick to it. I also don't like the social media tab. It just doesn't merge well with this entire thing. I don't like these emojis. They don't go well with the writing and the tone of the website. I think this is slightly cleaner way of doing social media, but I'm still not happy with how some are like non-filled things, some are like that. Maybe I didn't find this nice icons. So that's my personal website. That's my Twitter. If you look at it, same thing goes here. Design, UX, product at Headout. I speak blah blah blah. YouTube channel. If you go to my YouTube channel, then you're gonna see most likely, okay, what are the keywords that I see? Google something designer, product design. Then there is personal brand, redesign, cart, abandonment, women on leadership, mother of design, typography, design. So you can see design product things repeating here as well. Then if you go to Instagram, same thing appears here. Here I start with a different note because mostly students, I engage students with mostly on Instagram. And there's a funny story behind this. Like I used to, at the end of my every talk, I used to go like, hey, if you want to reach out, email me. And I would get like out of hundreds of students, only 2 or 3 students would email me. And then I started realizing every single time I go out to give a talk, I get a lot of Instagram followers. And I was like, obviously, like that generation is not emailing like people who are working. Students are on Instagram. So that's when I started ramping up my Instagram content, and that's where I mentioned. But this is clear. This part, design and product at Headout, what does this mean, is not clear to many folks. And that's where I get this question. And the link is of my YouTube. So if you land here, which works a lot because of the discovery, most of the folks discovering my Instagram ads, which are about these videos, so it works well from that angle. But I'm guessing like even if you go to the about page here, it talks about what videos it does, but like I guess no one reads this crap. Like most likely you're gonna click here about, and then you're gonna land onto my website, and then you're gonna try to figure out, click here, and this is the work tab, right? Same critique here. It's a whole lot of like text. And like I like the fact that these are more eye-catchy. These like big blocks, but all of these links, like it just, I like the fact that it's low maintenance because I don't have to think much about how to add new content here. That's why I kept it very low maintenance. If I had fancy design, then I have to think about it. But at this point, with no code tools and everything, I don't mind sort of taking a look at that, right? Maybe I can get a Airtable account and put some of these things in API. And this is another most visited part because a lot of students invite me for talks at their colleges, and a lot of startups invite me for private paid talks or consultation at their companies as well, where they're particularly looking at one topic that I expertise in. So this is most of the folks miss out that this is the email they have to contact me. Even though I've highlighted it here, it doesn't work. I invariably end up getting Instagram DMs, which works better for me, honestly. I've stopped tracking emails since everything is moved to Instagram. These videos also get decent traffic, and I'm guessing people spend some time just like getting through it. This earlier I got these were numbered and more highlighted. Then I got a feedback. It's like just like too much raw. But honestly speaking, I keep it for SEO reasons, and I also keep it for historical documentation to look at myself. And then there is obviously my blog of 64 notes. If you don't know about it, I've been writing here since I was 16. Really ancient. Like you can see if I go to blog and like archives, you can see I started writing here in 2010. So in 2020 it's been 10 years, right? So I've been writing here since very long. Everything that I publish anywhere first comes here. Then of course I have my newsletter that I spoke about. So this is how most of the folks travel. But this is just looking at everything. Let's look at some data, right? I want to look at some data. So I have got some data for you folks. But before we go to data, let's take a look at chat once more. Shreya Shekhar says, before checking out any other platform, I first checked your website. I was interested in your talks back then. Now I'm more interested in portfolio reviews, etc. Shreya, I think that's the best example of like you turning from just self-improvement to specifically about the product and this content. Amazing that you joined in on live example right here, folks. This is what I'm talking about. Thank you for that comment, Shreya. Really helps to validate some of my hypotheses as well. And I've seen that happen live, where now designers in the industry, some of the designers are in the industry working at really good startups. They told me they attended my talks when I was like 16 and giving talks. So there's some data, folks, from my Google Analytics, right? This is some data if you're looking at it. So I'm going to zoom in. This is just for King Siddharth. And what we're looking at here is sources, right? Where does this traffic come from? And what is the percentage distribution? So as you can see, the biggest one is Google, right? Search keywords. People are looking for my name. Specifically, maybe they discovered on Instagram, YouTube, or somewhere they discovered, heard my name, and then they end up Googling and landing up on the website. Shreya, I would be interested to know, how did you discover my website in the first place? How did you hear my name? In fact, all of you folks, 20 folks here, 20 folks, let me know in the chat, how did you first hear about me, if you remember, right? And you can do that with your audience. You can do a Twitter poll or just do an Instagram questionnaire, wherever you have more following, of how people are hearing about you. The second thing, I think this one is for my blog, and this one is for, I reversed the traffic. Sorry folks, I'm going to just reverse this thing. This is the correct sequence. This is my personal website. Biggest one is Google. Then there is direct traffic. I don't know what direct traffic is. Maybe these are the links that Google doesn't allow to track. So most likely this is also organic traffic, but without tracking. And then there is Twitter, right? Twitter is because I engage a lot there. I'm going to look at just till I think here, Instagram. Instagram is the biggest one. Then everything below 2% here is just noise, like it is insignificant. But overall, I get some from YouTube, some from LinkedIn, some from my blog, but not much, right? Most people coming here are from Twitter, Instagram, or Googling my name. So Srinivas Teja says Instagram. Spidey says Puneet Chavla was live with you. Ooh, nice. So Srinivas Teja says Tap Chief webinar. Wow, very interesting. Never knew that. So Ritesh Patel says Instagram, then YouTube, then your website. Ooh, nice. So that is the trajectory you took. So because Instagram has my YouTube link, and from YouTube there's an about page, and that is the track I was hoping one would take. Kumar Rohit Chandra says the interview series you started on YouTube. That is what got me, because saw it on LinkedIn. Amazing. So you discovered me on a social network because of YouTube content that I created, and then you discovered from there. Kushal Yadav says Instagram. Definitely. Shreya says when I stalk designers, I check if they have portfolio or not by default. There should be an aggregation of work, I feel. Definitely. Definitely. I'm going to come to my portfolio in a single second. I'm going to show you my portfolio and my honest opinion about it. And just going to quickly look at the other data we were looking at, right? Coming back to data, this is the blog, right? And my blog receives way more traffic, like 100 to 100x more traffic this domain receives than my own website, because it has this very broad keyword, especially from typography. I had a blog post that I wrote long back when I just like 6-7 years back, stop using Arial and Helvetica, and it's a rant against Arial and Helvetica as a designer, especially for web interfaces. And it's still like, it got so many backlinks. In fact, the Bloomberg and these features that I talk about, Bloomberg featured me my link for that reason only, for that particular article. That please, business folks, can you stop building Arial and Helvetica default website? The irony is many folks who linked that, their own websites were in Arial and Helvetica. It's insane. So on a personal website, you can see, on blog, you can see Google, like I said, again Google, then my website sends some of the traffic. We're going to look at percentages as well. I'm going to again look at above, up until here. Then it's more other traffic, blah, 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 like it's random scatter traffic. So honestly speaking, Google and my own website is what is sending traffic there. So there are many folks who discover me from Google, but very few of them end up converting the other way around, because Google, people are looking for quick answers. And same is when you make discoverable, and we're going to talk about that in a later part in the video when we talk about types of content you create for personal brand, right? When you create discovery related content, it gets you a lot of subs, it gets you a lot of exposure and everything, but they don't convert in conversations. For me, at least, that's been the experience. Like none of the folks who directly found my blog through actually no, and I now remember there are many emails I received of folks who, or DMs on Twitter as well, asking me, hey, my company is moving towards Helvetica, how can I build a case against it? What should be the free alternate I can present in a professional font, and or with lesser loading times? And I've gotten emails as well, thank you for writing that. I was able to send it to my XYZ company, and they were able to reconsider decision. So that's actually not true. It does, I think, result in people finding me on Twitter or else networks, but I think they're not as vocal and generally, but I think that's also because majority of that traffic just wants to get an opinion and move on. So this is some data. There's more data I'm going to look at, which is what happens then on these websites. Like this is where they come from, but once they come on these websites, right? This is my personal website that I was telling you about. These are the URLs, right? These are the pages. So just to switch back again, this is the website we were talking about, right? These domains you see, so you can see this is /home, sorry, this is /work, this is /talks, right? This is features, this is 64notes.com. So here, when I switch back to my data layer, you can see that the biggest one is homepage, obviously, right? And this is time spent. I've done that by time spent, so to look at quality of works. The next biggest group of people by time spent is work. So people who are, remember we spoke about people who are interested in actually all students, anyone would look at my work to get an idea of who this person is, right? So I think I can change my work page slightly around that, which becomes more of an intro to my professional self and makes it easy easy and more visual, right? Probably should write down some of these notes, but I can watch back this video while editing it, so I will take down those notes then and add it to the screen or something. The second biggest one you see is speaking, obviously, which is students going to talks, etc., or looking for those videos. That's about students, and if they play a video, that will also result in a longer time, but I'm guessing they click through and go somewhere else. And then there's media mentions, which is features. These are all the features. If you've not seen that, I'll quickly show you what that means. This is features page, media mentions page, right? It just has a link of all. I've not updated in a long time. Some of these links are dead as well. Maybe I can make a visual version of this, but visually complicated layout just take too much time to maintain. That is my biggest complaint. So that is why I keep it super simple, right? As long as it works, I think it just works. Then it really drops. I think history is the only other page. History is only linked from 1 or 2 places, which just talks about my journal history. But a lot of social Google traffic comes from here. Apparently, like a lot of entrepreneurship courses I think teachers end up doing some research and giving students assignment, then they Google and find my name on some of the places, and they end up looking for King Siddharth's story or what is the story behind, and end up landing on history page. Right, this is just my misconfiguration of my server, so it's showing the same page is showing as index.html. Coming to my blog, the biggest one, I told you, biggest one is that stop using Arial Helvetica. The next one is obviously homepage. Then I have ton people coming on podcast page now. A lot of folks, these folks are specifically coming from my, from my website. I add this reference wherever I link from my blog. So I know specifically these are from my website, personal website, these people landing on my blog. And they spend considerably more time. Then find good project names is kind of their design. On design posts, people spend a lot of time. These new podcasts and everything has been getting, I backlink from my Twitter. So they get a lot of traffic, and people, if they're listening to podcasts on any of these pages, they will stay for a longer time and click around. So what's happening basically is the long form content is working, right? All of these are long form content. People are spending time there. So I think readability, legibility wise, there might not be those issues. People are finding it easier to discover and find this content, and then they move on to different places, like they go to newsletter, they go to podcasts and other places from the blog, right? And that might be happening from here as well. If you see here, I created like a link tree. I created this page called /links/Instagram. You can actually go to this link on my website right now, kingstar.com/link/Instagram, and you will see I've tried to create an interface like Linktree, which I tested, and you will see the time spent here is really less, which is a good thing because people then are bouncing off from that page to specific social network, right? So hypothetically, one could say it worked, so I may try that experiment again, right? Given that Instagram is these days is getting a lot of interaction and engagement. So yep, that's the data that we are looking at. Coming back to our, how does it map to all of this that we spoke about, right? So a couple of things are clear. Oh, I think I disconnected. I'm so sorry. Just 1 second. Hope this connects back again. I may have to fix. Oh, there we are. Cool. Cool. Sorted. So now in all of this, what we realize that there are various ways people discover, right? People discover because there is content, right? And on social networks, right? You either hear about from, very rarely do you hear from other folks, but you see my content somewhere on a social network. Then you come to my website, and then it sends you off to various places again, which might be in social networks or might be my newsletter, right? And I don't prefer whichever one you feel better with, you can go ahead with that, right? So I've just simplified that this is what discovery happens, and this goes on people go to my website, which is basically what you can say is a hub, right? What we call a content hub. So it's not supposed to retain people itself, but it's supposed to send people off in various directions, right? While my blog is along with this is supposed to retain you in long form, and so is my social network, right? So I will write actually blog here. So all of these engagement happens in these places. So this is conversion. You can save this, and this is engagement. Right, this is what builds your brand, this is what builds your network, this is where all of this happens. Now coming to types of content, and simply speaking, there's pillar content that we talk about. Pillar content is like introduction to type design, introduction to design for non-designers, introduction to various things. The hardcore solid, like I'm working on like a video called Ultimate Guide to Design Titles. I recorded that last weekend, but I forgot, like somehow the video did not get captured on the video. So I capture audio separately with the mic and sync them up. They did not get captured, so lost that. So I have to re-record this weekend. So those are pillar content, right? Let's say how-to guides, right? And the thing like industry guide, all these blog posts I've been writing, these are pillar contents, right? If you go to my Medium, you'll see how to make sense of inherited design. Stop using Arial Helvetica. Actually, stop using Arial Helvetica. We'll talk about later. That's not pillar content. And then this is what we call pillar content, right? And second kind of content that you can talk about is discovery content. Discovery content is like the one I wrote about Arial and Helvetica, how to find project names. Great, that looks like something else. I'm going to rewrite that. This one is about Helvetica, right? And let's say Lota video, right? Because NID people may be interested in, that's a keyword that get interviews, right? Interviews is how you will discover me, because you may know Puneet Chawla, you may know Chetan CVS, or you may know Madhuri, who then I interview them, and then you get interested because of them, and then you discover about me as well. So interviews are discovery content, and this is two ways to look at content, and you want to create both kinds of content, right? There are many frameworks for content. Another framework that I like to mix and match with this is map here, that I'm going to create something called long form content. Long form is typically, not always, but linked to pillar content. And then there is micro content, as we call, like on Twitter, etc., which is around discovery. But on place like Twitter, where you create long form out of tweet thread of micro content, it can do both. It can serve as a long form, this thing, you can turn that into a blog post and make it long form, but that becomes a discovery piece because people will like and retweet and do all of that stuff. And this is how, once you create long form, let's say I created the entire industry roundtable, now I can create smaller clips. For example, I did the Lota video, then all my notes for that video, I turned them into Instagram posts. Now I can turn that into an Instagram thread as well, right? So the same, people don't like to leave social networks. Like, it's easier for me to read a tweet thread than click a video and then watch an 11-minute video. But I am on YouTube, then I will do that, right? So reusing the same method, content and repurposing it for different places also helps. But this is all content marketing, right? So now we will draw the line there, because if we go into content beyond this, then we will get lost. But another last thing to talk about is micro content's purpose is to show you the breadth of the content, right? How vast can be. You can discover a vast amount of topics. If I create a lot of slider posts on Instagram, you can just quickly browse through and get introduced to new topics, right? TikTok is that as well. I can cover a lot of topics. But if I wanted to, survivorship bias video is one. But if I want to create a detailed video on survivorship bias in daily life, then a long form YouTube video or a long blog post will do better justice, right? I'm also learning the same content. There are certain things you can say in a video that make sense in a video, but there are certain things which are better done in an article. Like long arguments, really technical arguments are better made in a written article, versus if I want to give you an experiential idea of what vastness that factor look like, then me making a video may look better, may work better than that, right? So you're looking for breadth here, and here you're looking for depth, right? And as you can see, this is why people when they discover you, they look at all your micro content everywhere on your tweets, your Instagram, and they discover you, and then they find your long form content, and then that's how they start to get to know you, right? So what we map today is, I think we have still some time to go, but I think we covered quite a bit. And before we make it oversaturated, I think we're gonna take some questions in between and then come back to another type of content that I did not include in this, which is what I call cluster content, right? Which is also a subtype of discovery content, but these are like, let's say top 10 videos, top 10 frameworks you should use, 10 designer tips in 10 minutes. I don't like creating all of those buzzworthy because, but I've been learning that they can be done well. I follow some YouTubers who do them well, so I think I'm gonna try that. I also wanna make comedic side of that, like 10 shit CEO says, 10 things designer says. But yeah, that is the plan. Let's take some chat, folks. Let's go to chat. Okay, a lot of chat here. We have Kumar Rohit Chandra says, when I first checked your profile, King Siddharth felt a bit pompous. Totally agree, that's the point. But now it's cognitively attached to your personality and the awesome things you share. Thank you so much. I think I know that initial barrier added there, but I think that also helps me like trigger an emotional response, right? Like An emotional brand any day, even if you had a negative emotion, is more memorable and has more chance of getting remembered than this thing. And honestly speaking, I did not have much choice in this. I used to have several domain. I used to work under several pen names back in the day. I used to have tens of blogs, and one of the pen names I used to work was King Siddharth, and it stuck around so well that all other names just sort of naturally died out. I used to have different Twitter accounts, different Hacker News account, different usernames. All of them died out, and this one just sticks around and is very memorable. So that is why people stick to that. Pavan says, very curious to learn all design aspects, but where to start from scratch to research or higher positions. To reach on higher position, you have to deliver. The more responsibilities and ambiguous problem statements you take, you progress in your career. When you're a very young designer, you'll be given problem statements like, hey, this is what goes on this landing page, this is the content, this image, design it, right? This is our design system, just design it. Then you grow up a little, then you get like, okay, can you design this component itself? Then you become even more senior designer, and you get problem statement like, hey, this conversion rate is dropping, can you figure that out? What can be done here? Then you do your research to figure that out. More ambiguous problem statement. Then eventually business will say, go figure how to improve business, right? Just align business priorities and business goals to how design should function. By the time you reach head of design sort of role or lead design sort of role. So that is how you progress. You take more ambiguous challenges, more difficult challenges, and more hardcore business deliverables, right? That's how you progress in your career. Anurag Shukla says, what are your thoughts on content for Instagram? There is an overflow of carousels in there. I think for sure there is. But that's how saturated platforms are, like, and that's going to be the future as well. More people will join the field. More people, like, if you think just this wave of designers is creating a lot of carousels, wait for next year. Like students which are learning design now will start creating these carousels and whatever there is tomorrow, like, right? So if you think carousels are overdone, start doing it on TikTok, right? And if you are interested in doing TikToks, we can do it as well on some design points. So the idea is that every network, when it starts out, first it has a lot of people, not enough content, so you get a lot of discovery. And as people start producing more content, your engagement rates keep dropping. So earlier, if any of you had were on Twitter earlier or Instagram very early on, like getting 100 likes was easier than it is now, because there's so much content, to get in front of your audience itself is difficult. So then you go where they are spending time, but there is lesser content, and you create more there. Or you overwhelm the algorithm by creating like massive amount of content, right? Something like, I think that strategy, I think Gary Vaynerchuk is one of the people who use that strategy. They like overwhelm the algorithm. And Seth Godin, like, people use the other strategy where they go like, consistency will beat every algorithm over time. And then his blog post, now you can make site posts out of it, you can make newsletter out of it. It works every platform. Somebody can narrate it, or he can himself can narrate it, make a podcast and record himself recording that podcast and make a video. Like, that thing also works. He's known for this one thing. That's how he shares his ideas. Shreya Shekhar says, how about including success stories and testimonials, like we show metrics? I love that. I think some kind of metrics and success stories I want to include. And that reminds me of, like, Shreya, great thing that you mentioned that, because that reminds me of my portfolio, right? Let's see if my link is here. It is right here. It's usereconomics.com, folks, and I'm not... I did it long back. I'm not very happy with how it turned out to be, because like in this screen size, you can see this is overlapping and just generally very... I wanted a magazine style layout, but like this kind of like works on smaller screen. But here it's written in a very... My target here was to write in style of The Economist, very crisp, dense this thing, and highlight numbers like these. So I think I'm going to move some of this content, because I've gotten good feedback about some of it. I want to rewrite some of it, because after reviewing some of the portfolios, I myself like want to redo some of that. If you remember, we talk about portfolios. This is the thing I follow myself. First, problem statement, then the insights, the key insight that led to that, and then I jump to solution immediately, right? And then you see the details, right? And then you see the results, and then even more thing about like... even more jazz if you're interested, like how that maps to market, how that maps to all of... And this is the team that, if you're really interested, who is included. But these are the things, like my role was here this, and the company was Instromojo. So I think I'm going to move this content to my /work, like add these pages as sub pages under work. and reuse this website for building tools for designers. I've been thinking of creating a website where I can keep uploading all the links to, a curated website for designers for all the things we do, all the videos I make. So I can have a start here page where you can start with, okay, start with design like this. All these questions people ask me. So I want to build, actually, let's write that right here, right? This is one of the ideas of how you do content. Like, we already got content here. Thank you, Shreya, for bringing this up. All of that we did was to understand the problem statement. Now we're getting ideas, right? And we'll do more ideas in next videos, but this is one of the ideas of solution. What I want to do is create hub thing, right, which has start here, right? And this could be for, let's say, designers, right? So usereconomics.com, right, can have start here, which can link to videos, and then it can have like, okay, now that you're done here, check out portfolio review, participate in that, because now by the time you will have that, then we can do a mock interview, right? And then you can start to build your personal brand, and I can build like a guide here, and then I can also add, let's say, frameworks here that I share, all the case studies I share, right? So one hub for designers, right, I can create on this website, links from my personal website, that you can find everything that designers and PM need that I've done around design in one place, right? This is one of the ideas that was floating in my head as well, but all of this conversation and thinking about this triggered as well. What do you folks think about that? One website where if you discover that you're interested in design and I talk about design, you come to that website, it says new here, start here, want to transition, click here, and then it has all the details about other folks. We're gonna go, so let me know what you think in the chat. Speaking of chat, let's switch to chat. What is chat saying? Siddharth Jha, what's up, Siddharth? Says, I have been toying with the idea of buying WTF domain. Thoughts? I think initially some quirky personal projects could go there, but if you eventually want to be discovered by people, be published by or linked to by from other sources, like I can totally imagine like Bloomberg thinking twice before linking to that WTF domain name. So you may not want to consider that. Anurag Shukla says, do you think building a personal brand in design niche is worth if we keep it focused on Indian scene and case studies from India? There's a huge gap for like designers focused solely on India and building that narrative. Please jump into that. We need thousands of you, please, right? So please build that brand. You can super niche down into that as well. So Anurag Shukla, you are on gold mine there. If you start building that brand today, 10 years later, you'll be writing books on the topic if you do it the right way and you get the right projects. Start doing that right away. And that goes for anyone listening here and Indian designers. Full-time at design content creation, the problem with that is then you stop being a designer. I think for me, that is why it's important to continue to be a designer so I can produce content, because if I become a full-time content creator, then I'm not designing anymore, right? Then it's harder to relate to a lot of new problems. So I want to be a designer as well, but that's personally my opinion. Like you could totally, for example, become a full-time design content creator on this topic and then connect with other designers who are in this domain and uplift them and bring out their stories and become known for that from that. It's completely possible to make a media/design personality out in this domain completely. Great idea. Give it a try. Shreya says, how should a designer who can code UI front end as well showcase that skill on portfolio? I think what you can do is in the end, hey, by the way, I coded this website myself, add the link to GitHub profile. And if your PM or whoever is looking at that knows about it, will definitely look at that, right? So I think with that, we are almost closing our session. So keep the questions coming, folks, loving them. And then Shreya says, but focusing on majority on the design role. Yep, so your entire case study would be there, but you can always talk about I coded this up. Second, you can talk about I built this prototype, I coded this prototype, because certain prototypes interactions can only be coded nicely unless you know coding, so you went into Framer and coded that up. So you can always give code to that, open source code to that, or you mention that I coded up this prototype to test with users, and the reason I did that because traditional tools, non-coding tools, prototyping tools were not cutting it, right? So that is one way to really highlight. And folks, if you find any value in this, please make sure you like the stream, because when you like it, more people watch it. The stream is only going to be live for 24 hours. Then I'm going to take it down and do the same thing, highlights, add memes, and upload it again. So if you are watching this, I will need a little bit help from you once I re-upload it. Just come and like it once more, and if there was some favorite part, you can watch it again and look at the memes I've added there. But yeah, if you come back and like it, it really helps, for sure. Now coming to Isha Deshpande says, can you make something primarily for startups in India about branding? Isha, that's a wonderful idea. I'm not. I may not be the best person here because I've not built. Actually, there are two Indian brands that I've worked with: ClearTax and Instamojo. And I know some designers who are specialized in building brands for India. I think that's a great topic. Thank you, Isha. I'm going to add that to my content plan. And that's a brilliant topic. Let me see what I can do there. Siddhartha says, +1 to some prototypes should be tested in code. Yep, so that is how you can showcase that, right? And you can continue to build those tools and now open source them. And finally, folks, we come to an end of the live stream. Before we take off, couple of announcements. Again, I've not been able to get back to all the folks who reached out for the mock interview, and those who reached out filled the form. I've not been able to get back to you. Apologize. Been a crazy week. Definitely spending the entire next 2 days getting back. Instagrams are increasing many folds every day. And second thing, tomorrow we are doing unproductivity tips on Instagram Live. So make sure you are following me on Instagram and join me there. What is unproductivity tips? Unproductivity tips is all these productivity tips, frameworks, do this, do that, to-do lists that do not work for me. To-do lists work, but like, there was something missing. I'm going to talk about that. And motivation, when people go like, hey, pandemic time, like, don't waste this time. That sort of thinking, that doesn't work for me. It puts more anxiety in me and FOMO in me than I like. I like to take it easy and think in long term and like pace up and pace down, and without like being impulsive and reactive towards the timings. So that sort of thing, being not a parent to myself and encouraging myself to do things works better for me. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So make sure you join on Instagram Live for that, 9 p.m. tomorrow on Instagram Live. Some more comments. Siddhartha say, calling it right now, video highlight reel making as a service, someone will start it up. For sure. I think, in fact, Dhwanil has been working on something similar. I'm interested to know if he can work that out. Dhwanil Patel. By the way, troll him on Instagram because he's been super busy and we need his interview on this channel, don't we? Harsha says, which one platform should newbie designers most focus on, Insta, Twitter, or any other? Honestly speaking, pick any and go after it. Like, if nothing else, see where you get engagement. Like, post 5 design posts in a week on whichever social network you are on, see where you get better engagement and then stick to that one. Instagram obviously is more visual, is more productive for designers. So out of those things, Insta is the obvious one, but Twitter is crazy for networking with designers. So Twitter also works. Either of them works. Siddharth says, yeah, I have activated Instagram. Any chances will end up with YouTube snippets on Twitter? Yeah, for sure. I will be putting YouTube snippets and the link to this on Twitter as well. The highlights video, I will link it up. First, I'm going to tweet this out, and then maybe I'll put it on Twitter only after the highlight reel, because tweets, get discovery in cycles, day after day after day. First, Indian design Twitter will wake up. They will like and retweet and engage. Because of them, by the time US design Twitter wakes up, then Twitter algorithm shows to them. Then they start engaging. The next day, a little bit of new design Twitter will discover that this is the cycle I've been seeing on Twitter engagement. So for sure, Siddharth, I'll be putting this on all networks. Clips of it will go on LinkedIn. Instagram, I think I'll link the main video. And yep, that is that, folks. Thank you so much for joining in. The next part, we will take, I will have collected more, I will start with mood boarding and collecting ideas and references of different websites to take inspiration, different Instagram accounts, different YouTube accounts to collect references of how other folks do it. I will have a list of people I admire in terms of personal brand and what kind of inspiration I may take from them in building this entire personal brand piece. If you have any references and any ideas for all the problem statements we spoke about today, where you've seen another designer or somebody else solve that problem very well, please link me up, DM me on Instagram, or leave a comment on the video whenever you see this, or leave a comment in the chat, or just DM me on Instagram. That's the easiest. So then we'll take references and we'll talk about how mood boarding is done and why mood boarding is important and why you should collect references before you just design anything and before you open Figma, because there's a lot you can miss out without and mood boarding also helps you narrow down on your ideas. Because right now, even though those diagrams I was able to simplify, you will realize when I start to lay down blocks, I'll be like, let me show you an example, right? I actually want to show you an example. So let's say this, right? The moment I start laying this out, right, I'll be like, okay, I talk about design here. So should I relate my work to my design? Should that be a separate card? I speak about two things: startups and all, self-improvement that I spoke about, and design. Should I have the same columns? So design and this thing, you're getting the point. Like, how do I do this information architecture? In here, a lot of references help, and we may do live card sorting with some of you folks. Maybe we can do usability testing with you folks right here, right? I mean, I'll try to get some card sorting software sorted out, so we can vote on how to sort it out. And yep, so next live stream will be after 2 weeks, and we will do all of that on that live stream, so don't miss that out. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it out. And thank you so much, folks, for joining in. See you tomorrow on Instagram. You are the best folks ever, and I promise I'm gonna re-record those videos, like Ultimate Guide to Designer, 5 UX frameworks that you should be using, a theoretical introduction to design for non-designers, especially that you can send to your business folks and to folks who like to go deep, and even for self-learned designer, that you may find it useful to get the theoretical side, a little bit of how we can start thinking about it. And that's that, folks. Thank you so much for joining in. Good night, take care, see you tomorrow. And any suggestion,